Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. I'm going to put this link up into Twitter land so everybody knows where we're located today. That would be kind of a nice thing. And that's what I've done just now. And I'm also right here. So, how's everybody doing today?
We're wonderful.
Wonderful.
Not bad at all.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, me, I'm just kind of frustrated as hell because one thing, I'm always frustrated as hell. But the other thing, if you didn't hear the news, you might as well hear it now, or at least tell Tchaikovsky the news. It's a good thing that I found Zoom, folks, because out of the blue, YouTube terminated Hangouts as of August 1 with no advance warning or notice to its users. So it just a bunch of ass-licking, cock-sucking pedophiles. That's what I say. Yeah, and you can quote me on that. No, I don't understand the corporate structure of companies that do shit like this. I mean, wouldn't it make sense? And I'm not going to harp on this too much, but they say it's millennials. Well, it's not millennials who are running Google, for God's sakes. These are freaking educated fucking people. I mean, wouldn't you think that if they would terminate something, they'd have given a date in advance, and when you clicked on it, they would say, not going to be available after August 1, but if you want to continue having utilization of something similar, here's what we're offering you. And it would take you away to a page that would tell you how much it was going to cost you. Because we know this is all about money. I mean, that's what everything is all about today. So you would think that they would put themselves in a position where they would actually be able to take some of your money, but they're not even smart enough to do that now, are they? No, they're not. What are they? They're just a big monolithic corporation that doesn't give a flying fuck. And I have paid a third-party company to help me broadcast this to them so that I'm using Zoom's cloud and not YouTube's backbone so they can save money. Well, I have a special message for all those people in the top positions.
Oh, it's going to be this
at YouTube.
Brace yourself.
Eat a dick. Eat a fucking dick. Okay, I'm done.
Hey, if they might enjoy that, it should be something onerous.
Yeah, no, I mean, actually, that
you know what you've got? You've got the BCOD.
I do, but he's not with me right now. No, he's not with me right now.
Maybe show him up on Friday for Google. You know,
yeah.
You have a Google collapse.
You know, one thing I want to do to start out the program today, I mean, there's so many ways to start the show, and I feel obligated to talk about the Browns. I'm not going to let, Trevor Bauer take over my show. One thing I wanted to do was to be able to share something. You know, I always try to share something. If you remember on Friday, it was herpes and Rox got it. And it was just what a horrible thing indeed. So I want to share my screen actually. And what I'm going to do here is go ahead and do so and go right over to.
Yeah, that's a good expression on my face.
So, this is what you're seeing is a video of Browns tight ends coach John Lilly about how they balance asking David Njoku to block elite defensive ends. All right. And let's see. I hope we can hear this and listen to this.
No sound.
No sound?
No sound. Unlucky.
No sound?
Must be a mime.
Wow. Isn't that something? So I guess
closed captioning.
Closed cap, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So obviously you can't run anything but the video itself. Basically, what Lily was saying is that David Njoku doesn't know how to block. Okay? I mean, this is kind of a roundabout way of getting to the punchline of this whole thing. But the bottom line is this. Njoku is going to have to catch every goddamn ball thrown to him because he's going to be on the field predominantly in passing situations. And if you need that yard, he's not going to be on the field. The middle of the field should be open to him on uncertain downs as far as whether teams are going to pass or they're not going to pass. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. You know, I would think at the very least that Njoku should have worked on that just a little bit. Oh, God, it's Tiger the cat. Oh, man. Let's see. Oh, God. Oh, God, no. Make it stop. God, feline leukemia. Make it stop. All right.
So we haven't gone to the dogs yet, have we?
No. God almighty. Tiger the cat. At any rate, it again shows how the Cleveland Browns are built, which is there's a lot of downfield throwing envisioned for this team. What was interesting is what is being worked on more and that Baker Mayfield is becoming more and more comfortable with. I'm going to go right to the panel and start with Bronk.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that you could say about Baker Mayfield that was not good last year or that was lacking, I'm not going to say not good, that's too strong, but lacking, what would it have been?
He was almost over-determined. He was almost trying too hard. But it's hard to be critical of him of that because he was trying to change the culture. So you can even turn that into a plus. But I think that he was in situations where the defense had put him down so badly in the games that he had to try to make up 2 or 3 scores. And so it didn't always work.
Let me clarify my question because that's probably a good answer, but it's not really how I
want it, though.
No, it isn't that. It's that there's a fine line. When a rookie quarterback plays in his rookie season, the first thing that you look at is how he reads defenses. If you were to say, what did he do that was not as good as other things, what would come up as far as his reads were concerned?
Probably throwing to the edge.
All right.
Better throwing over the middle and throwing short passes over the middle than he was to throwing out in the flat and over the edge.
Oh, fuck the cat. Don't actually fuck the cat because I don't want to see that on the air. Jake, if there was one thing lacking in his, let's just say his pocket presence and his reads, what would it have been for you?
I think he has some issues throwing on the outside against man coverage.
Yeah.
Because he can throw in those zones, those holes, but when he throws it outside, there's times he overthrows the receiver or underthrows it. It makes a harder catch for them.
All right, Rick?
Yeah, I think he has trouble with throwing to the back shoulder so that only the receiver could get to the ball rather than the defender. And then sometimes if he was behind, he would be determined to get to throw that perfect pass like he's trying to score 2 touchdowns with 1 throw. And he just has to recognize it. It just doesn't work that way. He found that out probably with his final interception against the Ravens in the last game. That all of a sudden picked off.
Yeah, and these are all good points, but there's one thing that stands out to me. And Baker Mayfield is a big play quarterback, obviously, and he likes to make the big play. He likes to, the dagger. That's why he celebrated all over Hugh Jackson's grave. He's just into that kind of thing,
Hey, so with the vibe, man.
Yeah, we all would have. As a matter of fact, I'm still looking for a plot of land that I can purchase to bury Hugh in. The thing that I noticed about Baker Mayfield is that in his quest to make some of those big plays, it wasn't that, I mean, the number of sacks were much greater when he first started than at the end. When we hit our winning streak, we were 2-6-1, and then we started catching up. And he didn't get sacked as much. He was evasive in the pocket. But my biggest complaint is that he would scramble out of the pocket and run for some yardage, and we can't have that. He's not very fast. It's not that he's dead slow like Bernie Kosar, but he's not real fast. And every time you pull the ball down and you run, you're going to have to hope that you get to the sideline before somebody gets to you.
Well, he did get speared illegally on that one call against Baltimore or Pittsburgh.
Tampa Bay, I think.
Shitty teams that they never called anything. He jumped right up and tried to get in the guy's grill when they didn't call it.
But let's be honest about this. If the quarterback runs out of the pocket, and he is the single piece of the Cleveland Browns that makes them a winning football team at this point, because there's Drew Stanton behind him, folks. And if you can get Baker out of the game, and if one guy makes a malicious hit and takes him out, then by scrambling, you have in some way increased the odds of that happening. What's happening in training camp this year, which is real interesting, and I've talked to a number of people who attend the practices, is that it isn't so much that Baker is in his mind counting down how much time he has in the pocket. He knows. What he's doing is taking his eyes from downfield to shorter distances and checking down. It's something that we did not see a lot of last year. And it probably was one of the more discouraging things for Duke Johnson, because he lives on checkdowns. And, you know, last year we had a lot of instances where receivers were not open. This year he has better receivers. But I think throwing the ball to Dontrell Hilliard, checking down to Nick Chubb is being accented in this camp. And I think that Baker himself understands that to take the next quantum leap as a quarterback, you got to be playing, you got to be healthy. And sometimes you got to take what the defense gives you. I think every great quarterback, you know, and Tom Brady didn't make his career like fucking Darryl LaMonica did, you know, by just hoisting bombs in the air. Tom Brady has been an accurate thrower, and always seems to have the perfect check down weapons. And they say, what? How can he play when he's 40 years old or whatever? And the answer is he doesn't get sacked much. Why not? He's so quick at the check down read. When he doesn't see his primary and secondary open, he has that check down there. And that's all part of that Patriot offense. It actually made Matt Castle look good too, by the way. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a potential 4-yard pass out in the flat to a running back, especially if you have an elusive one like Duke Johnson / Kareem Hunt, or a powerful one like Nick Chubb, who can take that 4 yards and turn it into 8 or 12 yards. You know, you take yardage the way you get it. And I think too much the Browns were really relying on more intermediate range passes and abandoning shorter passes. And I think it could be devastating for teams if the Browns are able to utilize their running backs in a passing game, or a guy like Njoku, who you might hold in to block and then let him leak out into a pattern and let him use some of his athleticism one-on-one against a linebacker. You move the flags, you consume time of possession, you're protecting your defense, which is probably at this point maybe the more questionable part of the Cleveland Browns. But what you're doing is you're pushing that ball into the red zone with a quarterback who knows how to do damage in the red zone. So I think all of these things are things that I'm noticing, and I think for the betterment of the Cleveland Browns. So,
Well, if you're the other team and you're defending and you see Njoku trot out on the field, are you automatically going to think it's a passing play and that Njoku's a target? Do you like send an extra blitzer down that side to try to blindside Mayfield? What do you do?
well, for one thing, I can tell you this. No, it doesn't automatically mean that. What it means is that if you're going to run the ball, you're going to run the ball away from Njoku. You're not going to run to the side of the line that he's on. Also, we have a head coach who loves misdirection. I mean, if it looks like he's going to run the ball, let's say that Njoku is, basically lined up as a tight end and in a blocking scheme on the right side of the line. And everyone's going to say, well, David Njoku can't block, so we're going to run. They're going to run to the left side. They will run an influence block play to the left side, and Baker Mayfield will whirl around and throw the ball in the flat to one of his wide receivers on the right side and have them go one-on-one with a defender, because the other team will be overcommitted to the left side. It's not going to make them show their hand, but what it's going to do is it's definitely going to take Njoku off the field in real short yardage, must gain, what they used to call jumbo formation. The guy we got from Kansas City, Demetrius Harris, is that his name? That's a regular big-sized blocking tight end guy. He'll be the guy you see in there as an extra blocker in those must-have yard, half-yard situations where you're just churning out first downs. I think ball control is going to be more to prolong Baker Mayfield's career too. I think you can't in this league drop back and expect to throw 15, 20, 25, 30-yard passes consistently, because they will tee off on you. You have to have a balance between your run game. But if you don't run the ball, the new run with an accurate thrower, and I've been watching Baker Mayfield, the film of him coming back from practice, he's accurate as all get out. He's putting the ball right on the fingertips of guys. The problem we've always had with screen passes in Cleveland is that the quarterbacks would loft the ball too high. It would take too long to get there. The defense would have time to react, or the ball would be thrown behind the running back, so he'd have to stop and catch it. Then the whole timing of the play is disrupted. The blocking scheme is nowhere to be found.
They would always choke on these plays, and normally it was the quarterback getting nervous because they'd have a short little throw and they didn't have the right control or touch on the ball to get it in the right place where it needed to be, so the running back didn't get killed the second he caught the ball.
Or I would see a lot of times where we would spike the ball because the receiver, the running back, wouldn't even get out into the flat because the team would be
turned around to be able to catch it.
Offensive line was so bad it couldn't hold people out long enough to continue the fake, so to speak, and allow for that guy to release. Instead, there was a swarm of humanity, and the running back would get caught in that swarm of humanity and never make it out into the flat. So all of these things, I think, bode well for Baker Mayfield and for the Browns. I think that it's just a matter of time until we have a more well-rounded offense, and that you're not going to be able to guess what he's going to do, because he'll literally have five different places that he can go with in the ball, and he's just not going to run the football. I would consider a successful game something where he never takes off up the field.
Well, did you watch the Kitchens interview today after the practice?
I started to watch, and I saw what was said. What did anything strike you that was of interest?
Well, they talked about a series of plays where the defense was told that the offense had to run the ball 3 times to get first downs.
Exactly.
The first time, they gave the ball to Chubb, and he fucking blasted through them and got like 11, 12 yards. So that was like success for the offense. So they brought out the twos. They brought out Dontel Hilliard, who proceeded to blake through and run for 50 yards. So that was kind of interesting, that the drill where they tell the defense, well, we're going to run the ball, and they're able to like go through for 11 yards and go through for 50 yards. Now, what's been coming out that I've been hearing, because I spent a lot of time today looking at the Browns' social media, was that Dontel Hilliard is actually kicking ass, generally during this training camp. So whether that makes things even more interesting for the running back room and the potential play calling, who knows? But apparently he has improved a lot. So.
Well, Freddie Kitchens, for all of the talk of, the laughing, joking, kidding, good old boy.
He made him, there was a fight on the field between Chad Thomas and Farrell Sharkey or whatever his name is.
Farrell.
Farrell Sharkey. But anyway, so they had a fight, and then Kitchens pulled the whole team aside and made it run sideline to sideline about 3 times.
Well, it isn't just that. The one thing that I noted that he said to the press is sometimes you have to be able to do something when the other team knows what's coming.
Yeah, that's what that was all about.
And so that is the whole preparation. Is he's telling the defense, this is what we're going to do. And still, we're going to find a way to block it out and get the yardage that we need. I mean, this is the way you create a substantive will from your offense that erodes the confidence of the other defense and wears them down. That has nothing to do with verticality in pass patterns. That has nothing to do, with the air raid offense. That has nothing to do with end arounds and kooky play calls. This has everything to do with being able to do your job correctly.
It's like it has everything to do with winning and fucking losing. That's what it has to do. Either you win, you get the result, you execute, or you fucking lose and you suffer the agony of defeat.
Well, the other thing is, penalties. When guys do something that is penalty oriented, they're being hammered.
About time. I mean, every interview that I've seen of Kitchens, and I think I've seen most of them for the past 2 months, I fucking love it. I mean, he's got the right attitude. He's like what I would want in a football coach.
Meanwhile, the guy who looked good today, Myles Garrett, and which shouldn't surprise us, that he was trapping a lot of the running backs in the backfield. Now, he's pulling up on people. All right. So if Dontrell Hilliard gets the ball and is trying to run an end around, and, he was right there in the backfield on several occasions, and he was playing strictly on the right side instead of going back and forth. This on the heels of Oliver Vernon's comments after yesterday's practice that this switching back and forth thing is, quote, it is what it is. He was not happy with the fact that he, instead of playing the left side where he's accustomed to playing, and Myles Garrett playing the right side that he's accustomed to playing, they keep switching back and forth, and it is distracting. So today, Myles Garrett was playing his usual right-sided position, and on getting into the backfield quite a bit. He was blowing by Greg Robinson, and that's not a good sign at all. And he was also stopping Nick Chubb for a loss in a live tackling section, later cutting off Landry on an end around. He was just living in the backfield. With that in mind, today's question that I'm going to throw at the panel, or one of them, is Sion Takitaki, the only football player in the NFL whose last name rhymes with walkie-talkie. I can't. I think that's something you can order at a sushi restaurant. I'll have the Takitaki. Jake, do you think Takitaki is intentionally being put up to some of this rugged behavior? We know that he had a reputation coming out of college as a hitter, and he raised the ire of a few people by making contact and non-contact drills. Do you think he's going to be the guy who they're just trying to rile up because he's going to predominantly be a special teams guy? What do you think, Jake?
The coaches said that don't rule out him in a competition as a starter. So they wouldn't say that about just him if they didn't mean it, I don't think. They'd say it's open competition at linebacker for that spot. If they mention him, I think they really do like what he could bring to the team, even if he's not the most knowledgeable yet. If he's not afraid to hit and he's quicker, he's might be better than Schobert.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to go to Rick next in just a minute, but I wanted to feed this piece of information in. Takitaki and talkie-talkieing to the press.
Oh, make it stop.
I know. This is not going to end now, is it?
Like the blocky here.
God, you know what it looks like? When I see this view of rocks, it looks like Davy Crockett is going down on her because all I see is
little coonskin cap.
That is just wrong on so many goddamn levels.
Hey, I didn't imagine that. Only you did. So I don't know what that says about you.
What it says about Davy Crockett, man. What is it?
That's why he's king of the wild frontier.
Yeah, I guess.
My.
He'd need a machete down there.
Levels get a little deeper here.
Either that or we'd be gone. The Takitaki was talking to the press about the fact that he is a Mike linebacker. This is Schobert's position, okay, and that he has no problem communicating to other players what they're supposed to do. He's an alpha guy, and he is identifying himself as a Mike linebacker. Mm-hmm. And, and he says, I'm perfectly content playing behind Joe Schobert, but that is who I am and what I do. Rick, I mean, what do you think the team is thinking about this guy?
Sounds like he's demonstrating some confidence in that he can compare himself to Schobert. And if he has the ability to tackle and wrap up, running backs or receivers that come by his way, considering what Schobert did last year, that may give Takitaki the edgy.
Well, the thing with Takitaki, from what I've heard in college, is that stiff hips and not really strong in coverage, but a bigger hitter and a more physical player than Schobert. But I did not hear anything about this Mike linebacker business. I didn't hear anything about that. Bronk, I mean, is he going to – do you think that he's the guy that's going to be like the guy who just murders people on special teams and they're just going to point him in a direction to go through a brick wall? Or do you think – or is this partly – is he being put up to some of these things that he's doing in order to make the team around him tougher? What do you think?
Do you really think that they're that clever to put up a rookie to some weird, insightful role to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I do, because what I say, the biggest thing that's been missing in Cleveland for the Browns is a Ray Lewis guy, guy.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, an evil fucker like Troy Polamalu or Montez Burfict or...
Who was the last guy that you can think of on a Browns roster who was a seek and destroy guy who other teams fucking hated? I'll go through history like the Jack Lambert of the Cleveland Browns, if we're going all the way back with the Steelers, or the Ray Lewis of the Cleveland Browns, or the Junior Seau of the Cleveland Browns. Who's the last guy you can think of?
We never fucking had one.
No. Unless you were Terry Bradshaw, then you'd say Joe Turkey Jones.
Yeah.
At least for one play, anyway.
That happened on one play. That was a one.
That's what Chip Banks was supposed to be, and he took half the plays off. So, I mean, it's been so long since we had a bad boy. I'm just wondering if this is our guy. If they're grooming him, and that he will occasionally play downs out there with, the strange alignments that Steve Wilks comes up with, you wonder if he is just going to be a live wire on defense.
They were saying on that Cleveland Browns radio that they were talking about him and that he was like always around the ball, that he may not always be in the right spot to begin with, but eventually he was there or thereabouts where the ball was. So if he can hit people, then he's doing well. But no, we have never had that guy. I mean, T.J. Ward had one big tackle. I mean,
Yeah.
Or
We've never really had
Fauci,
anybody like a Butkus or a
Jack
Lambert or a Mad Stork.
A little
Or
bit
anything
bad
like that.
news. Damon Sheehy Giuseppe dropped 2 passes, one on a deep 7-on-7 session against Greedy Williams, clearly beat him, but did not hold on to the ball. Yeah.
Well, if you get nervous in practice, what are you going to do in a preseason game when it counts, or in a regular season game, or in the playoffs? You know,
you got to be damn near perfect if you're Sheehy Giuseppe in the preseason, because a day with 2 drops and Freddie Kitchens was seen consoling him on the sidelines. That's the difference between working and not working. And
days like that.
What we forget is that a roster spot means everything to these young players. It isn't whether they start or not. It's in a case of Sheehy Giuseppe, it is just making the squad. And a day like today clearly doesn't help. So
yeah, I mean, it could be the difference of getting your entire family out of poverty or not, making this team. So it's big shit, man.
Yeah, a lot of a video of Baker Mayfield throwing the ball exactly where it needs to be thrown. We were talking about a back shoulder throw. I think I can at least get in here and share this because there's no sound, for God's sakes, on this. So I'm going to share my screen for a minute here so that y'all can see what I'm looking at. This is Baker Mayfield throwing to Njoku. Look where the ball is thrown. And I'm going to blow this. Can I blow this up? No. Unfortunately, they're not allowing this to be blown up. But you see, again, the ball is thrown against the grain. And that's really what you're looking for in that kind of a pattern. All right. There are a bunch of examples of him throwing passes and that are, I mean, you can see that he throws the ball where nobody else can get them. There's your backup tight end, Demetrius Harris, catching one. And there's a one-handed catch by Njoku. He's throwing the ball where nobody else would be able to get to it. And you can see the accuracy here is remarkable.
The other thing that's really remarkable is how relaxed it all looks. It doesn't look forced. It doesn't look nervous. It doesn't look like they're going to choke. It just looks like we're just playing catch and we're having fun. And
this is, again, the corner throw. This is, what they would call the flag pattern. And, this is, look at
the way Mayfield's throwing the ball. He's just relaxed. He's just out there. This is what we're doing.
No happy feet.
Yep. And what they say is this is dropping it in the bucket. And
never had a guy do that.
Well, that's because we had Brandon Whedon, who threw everything on a rope and could never throw with air underneath it. Deshaun Kaiser, who couldn't either. We've had a lot of quarterbacks who just
fucking Anderson, who couldn't get anywhere near anybody.
No touch. And that is just so damn important, And again, you see, watch coming across your screen at the last minute here, the throw right there. Again, he's looking at 2 different options, and the ball is just in such a tight window. And here we are now in full blocking, and this is one of the screen passes we were talking about to Nick Chubb. You just see this again. Instead of running with the ball and worrying about it, there's the guy you're dumping down off to, and it's really isolated on Schobert, and your running back should have an advantage on that. And I'm not sure if this is Chubb or Hilliard because I'm not seeing the other number on his uni. I think that might be Hilliard. I'm not sure because this one is Chubb, I believe. And you'll see, again,
24.
See, and there, instead of running beyond the line of scrimmage, it's like, okay, I got you right here. And let somebody else who's built a lot bigger than you are absorb the punishment and get the ball down the damn field. So, these are all really good signs. And sometimes it's hard to really hone in on these when you can't blow the screen up. But, and the camera angle is so bad that I'm really not even able to analyze what in the hell that is. Here again, more of a close up, and and again, a screen out to Chubb, and this is what you're going to see more and more of. And he gets out into the flat, and
saw two defenders overrun the play too.
Yeah, and the cutback, which Chubb is devastating when he cuts back. He has probably
over 38 just got torched.
He's the best cutback runner since Leroy Kelly that the Browns have had. And
Leroy Kelly was damn good.
Yeah, he was great, especially on a bad field. He was really good.
I don't know if he's actually in the Hall of Fame, but if he isn't, he should be. Leroy Kelly was probably the best running back for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but he was deceptive because sometimes it looked like he was running sideways, But a good day overall for Baker Mayfield. Here's another connection in the red zone. And look where he throws the ball. I just, again, the receiver's calling for the ball, and it's right there, perfectly led. I mean, you're not going to defend that, This was a very, very good day for Baker Mayfield in practice. And I think that, it's the question is he going to have enough time to throw the football?
He just looks so calm and comfortable, like he belongs. Like we got guys that are owning their positions. They're comfortable. He's comfortable playing quarterback. We got guys comfortable being receivers, guys comfortable rushing. We've seen too much anxiety on the field over the years.
Got a question for the panel. I'm getting a feeling. I want to see if you guys agree with me or not. Do you get a feeling maybe that Kareem Hunt is falling out of favor because of circumstances maybe that we don't even know about besides that little altercation? He's hurt. So is Duke Johnson hurt right now. But the fact that the Browns are not interested at this point in trading Duke Johnson, Bronk, we'll start with you. Do you think there's a chance that Duke Johnson stays and that Kareem Hunt is really on the ledge here?
Yes.
What makes you feel that way?
Because I think they've really sheltered Hunt. Now either he is genuinely hurt, but they've not talked him up. They've not hyped him. I think.
I mean, Haslam came right out and said, that they have expectations of how he is to comport himself. And there is just no tolerance in this.
I think there's something going on, but I wouldn't want like Mary Kay to try to find out what it is to even make things worse.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is maybe it's the same thing as the Desmond Harrison thing. The guy went from being the starting guy to the Browns getting rid of him. It's like, wow, why would they do that? And then it came out that he was having problems with the law. Jake, do you think that Kareem Hunt might really be on the bubble in one respect?
Yes, because they probably see something in Hilliard now, and he could be a 1A. I think they view Hunt as a second starter if he was needed, but with Hilliard showing out in training camp, if he keeps doing so, they have a pretty clean guy to keep, and they can get rid of Hunt or not use him as much.
Yeah, I think Dorsey's absolutely ruthless. If he feels he can make the team better, he can spare anybody's feelings.
Yeah, but I just think Hilliard, if he shows out, they don't need that right now.
Exactly.
Well, what they don't need is somebody that they can't count on. And the thing that we never know is there are internal team investigations of players that turn up more information than what we know, of course.
And I don't really want to know what this is, if it is something going on. I don't want it to come out. I just, like Dorsey got rid of Josh Gordon pretty unexpectedly at the beginning of last year. That same thing could happen again with Kareem Hunt. And that was pretty fucking ruthless looking back on it. But it was obviously the right thing to do.
Well, I'm saying it might be the right thing to do. Rick, I mean, are you getting this vibe too?
I'm beginning to. You're seeing more and more of Hilliard into the forefront. and you hear less and less about Hunt with each passing day. And then today at the practice, they made mention of the fact that the agent Drew Rosenhaus was there. I'd be anxious to hear what exactly he was doing over there. Was he trying to, swirl up a little something between the team and, trying to see what's going on with Duke Johnson? I mean, Grant, he's got a little leg problem or something like that, but I'm hearing more and more of Hilliard. The more you hear of Hilliard, the less you hear of Hunt. It's like he's just slowly fading into the background.
Well, it's interesting because Rosenhaus was at the facility today, chatting with Dorsey and Elliot Wolf before practice. And he just said, all of this is internal. We'll keep it between us. The thing that was of interest to me is that Duke Johnson is out with a pulled hamstring the past 3 days. And when asked, the Browns coaching staff, when asked about the running back situation, they said that Kareem Hunt would be back sooner than Duke Johnson. So you wonder if the pot's boiling here in that direction, and that maybe they are going to trade Duke Johnson, and that his agent is there because he wants to make sure that his client is not playing or working out with a pulled hamstring because he needs to get healthy for the preseason when he goes to another team? Or is it the other way around? Is that Kareem Hunt needs to get back sooner because if he doesn't, he's going to miss too much time and maybe the team is losing interest in going cold on him?
Can media meddling into this situation make everything worse?
Yeah, the Browns continue to publicly say they want Duke Johnson on the team. And, this is what makes me wonder when a guy really says, I want to be traded, and you don't trade him, and the player gets frustrated, brings his agent in and all this. How much confidence do the Browns have in Kareem Hunt, who is obviously 8 weeks on the shelf because of a suspension? But what would the reason be that you'd want to hold on to Duke Johnson unless you were fearful that Kareem Hunt had more problems than what we all know about? It's,
It's a tricky one, and there's a story there, but let's find out when it actually happens.
What they're saying is that Johnson underwent an MRI and could be out a while. Now, the thing here is that Duke Johnson always seemed to be frail to me, undersized, unable to be an every down player. So, and it kind of plays into that too. He spends a lot of time in the whirlpool, so to speak.
Too, though, man.
Yeah. The quote about Kareem Hunt is that, quote, he still has work to do to remain with the Browns. And that doesn't make me feel real good either.
No.
And what Haslam said specifically is it's up to him, which means that he's got to clean up his act.
Well, is that orange and brown scrimmage? Are they going to film that for the internet somewhere? Or are we going to be able to watch that? I think it's on the 3rd of August.
What is that?
Yeah, Saturday, I believe.
The scrimmage at Brown Stadium that they have, the orange and brown.
The
orange and brown scrimmage at the field. Yeah.
Who's showing that?
That's what I'm asking. Are we going to be able to watch that
in real time? I don't believe so, but maybe. I don't know. What I'm seeing is that Freddie Kitchens keeps saying he wants Duke Johnson on the team. Stump Mitchell regards him very highly. The thing that I wonder, you've got OBJ, who's God only knows temperamental, and if you have Kareem Hunt, who's really a problem, who's a problem like Gordon was a problem.
Yeah, I would compare Hunt to Gordon, not Hunt to OBJ. I don't think OBJ is a criminal.
No, but what I'm saying is maybe the reason Kitchens says that he wants Duke Johnson on the team is that Duke Johnson will be on the team, and the concern is that Kareem Hunt will not be, because he will be suspended for something else. It's all it's possible that and finally he just said he signed a contract last year. He's going to be here. He's going to have a role in our offense. We're not giving away good players. Okay. Freddie Kitchens is being pretty forceful about this. So the last thing you want is a player with a problem that goes beyond just one incident, because if he's, there's nothing that would be more demoralizing for a team would be getting rid of a capable running back to wait the 8 weeks, and then you end up with Dontrell Hilliard permanently because Kareem Hunt will never be able to play because of behavioral issues. This is what you're going to be, what I would be afraid of anyway. So
maybe it's a case of the better the devil you know.
Exactly. I mean, it's, one thing I wanted to point out, and this Dave Gettleman thing keeps getting worse now, doesn't it? I mean, you get rid of OBJ and you sign a 31-year-old Golden Tate, and the only way he can stay in the league, obviously, is to use PEDs.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's gone. He's suspended for 4 weeks. He's suspended for 4 weeks. So their third receiver is gone now. For first 4 weeks of the year, he's gone. He's claiming it was a fertility medication. It's like, oh, please. He's 31 years old. He's hanging on by his fingertips. And the goddamn Giants paid him big free agent money at 31 years of age, and he's taking PEDs. So now the Giants have zero receivers.
So the performance enhancement he was taking, he thought was for the bedroom and not for the playing field.
Who in the hell? I mean, they all got to come up with something now, don't they?
Well, bed rhymes with bed.
I don't know. Why would you admit to that anyway?
Yeah, to me, why? I got a better question of the Giants and Dave Gettleman.
Why? Just why?
Why play Eli Manning, his 16th year in the goddamn league? He's old, he's slow, and he got nobody to throw to now. He has nobody to throw to. I mean, what's the downside of playing Daniel Jones, for God's sakes? At this point, is this the way to let Eli Manning spend his last year without a single wide receiver that he's ever thrown to in his life? I mean, the whole thing is just so half-assed backwards. Remarkable, the how bad the decisions that are being made are. Just, to me, unbelievable. And there's more around the league. I mean, didn't training camp just start, or is it my imagination? Did it just start?
4 days ago.
Not that long ago.
The Dolphins have fired their offensive line coach 1 week into camp.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, get this. Flaherty, the guy who was fired, was hired in February, shortly after Brian Flores took over as the head coach. But the offensive line has struggled throughout the spring and summer, so they're getting rid of him. It's like, bye-bye.
How is that going to work?
Flores had made it clear there are no sacred cows in the organization. I don't like that kind of talk at all.
That's like cowless talk, isn't it?
Yeah, I've heard this before from guys who just, trying to put the fear of Jesus, or the fear of cheeses, I'm sorry, into these.
You know what? It makes Sunday, November the 24th, when Miami come to Cleveland. That looks like a fun day for our defensive line.
Well, I mean, the interior of the offensive line in Miami, obviously, was being dominated by the defensive line through 4 days of training camp. Well, I mean, that's not uncommon.
Yeah, but they don't have Garrett and Vernon and Ogunchukwu. Yeah.
His replacement spent 2018 as the Colts offensive line coach. He was hired as a Dolphins football analyst in May, and he's familiar with Miami. It's his third stint as an assistant coach. But he also is from that Patriots tree. His name is Di Guglielmo. And you know, he was an offensive line coach for the Patriots in 2014, 2015. You know, already for that kind of a change to be made, and you know, the Dolphins obviously, this is a year in which their quarterback either makes it or breaks it, you know.
Wow.
Without an O-line, man, that's going to be a tough one to call. But so it isn't just soft tissue injuries, it's coaches getting blown up too, you know. So
Bengals lost AJ Green for a couple of months too.
6 to 8 weeks, they're saying minimally. And did they say what it was with his foot?
Torn ligaments in his ankle, I think. Some of them are blaming the field because of the condition.
Yeah, they said that they were playing on a field where was it, in Dayton?
Yeah, I think so.
You know, that they normally don't play on and practice on as part of some NFL thing that they're, I don't know,
some 100-year deal or something.
Yeah. And but
maybe that was the age of the field. Maybe it's 100 years old. That's why it's in the condition it was in.
AJ Green has been an injury magnet though recently, and so you know, I don't know if I'd be blaming the field, but you know, it's interesting. The unfortunate loss, by the way, for the Cleveland Indians yesterday and Trevor Bauer, we should talk about that before we get out of here. And I want to go to the panel again about this. And I know there were some opinions. Jake, we'll start with you. What's your feeling about Bauer?
I would just keep him at this point. I mean, the team didn't seem that upset about it. He took the blame himself. It's one of those. He's probably leaving. Just deal with it for the year. Hopefully, make it the playoffs if we can.
I'll tell you, I've never seen Francona so demonstratively, you know, gesturing somebody off the field. I mean, he looked like a father who was pissed off at his little kid in Little League. Really, it was.
And he's the one that dealt with that whole fried chicken and beer in the pitcher's room in Boston. Remember that when they collapsed?
Yeah, you could get away with anything with him. That was the word. But I mean, maybe this guy just taxed him to the limit. Maybe Tito was like, God, I've had enough of this already. This son of a bitch, he lobbed one at the screen, and then he turns around and throws it over the wall in center field. It's like, you can't do that. And after the game, of course, Bauer apologized. But the bottom line is, even he himself said that he was frustrated because all the seeing eye hits, and there were a good number of seeing eye hits. But, you know, eventually teams are going to have a day like that. You know, the Royals were due. If anything, the Royals can hit. You look at their lineup and they have guys who can hit. The problem is they have a lousy bullpen and they have some real questionable starting pitching and not very good. Bronk, how do you look at the Trevor Bauer thing?
Well, first of all, I think he's going to get traded anyway. And maybe he knows something that none of us know. But the main thing about Trevor Bauer is that I think he needs to sit down a long time with a sports psychologist to try to find out what's going on with him. And maybe he can use this incident to turn his life around a bit. Because obviously, for somebody to do that sort of display, that doesn't happen like once every 10 years on a baseball field where somebody gets that frustrated and does something that crazy in front of 20, 30,000. I don't know how many people were there.
You know what bothers me about it is Trevor Bauer can say what he wants about seeing eye hits, but the very first pitch of the game got roped down the left field line, and they were hitting him hard. It was like
it's a responsibility issue, that whole thing. You know,
his fastball was getting way too much of the plate, and they were just waiting on fastballs that he was grooving, and they were pummeling the ball. It wasn't that he was really effective in any particular inning of that game, and the way it ended, of course, was, you know, one thing after another. But you can't let the frustration get you like that.
Wasn't he ill during the week?
Oh, yeah, we heard that, but he pitched better when he was ill earlier, and he should have been better. I think he's ill between the ears. Rick, are you hearing where Bauer might be going?
they say that, even though that he blew up there, that there are teams out there that might be interested in him. But I would think, unless they got themselves one heck of a haul for him, I would think the Indians would just hang on to him and then maybe think about doing a trade at the beginning of the year because of, to avoid all that arbitration stuff. The thing is, this isn't the first time he's done this. Between this and the drone and his 3 rules for dating and Lord knows what else. The funniest thing I saw in that whole thing was when he turned around to throw it out to center field, Mike Freeman, the second baseman, flinched. He ducked out of the way. He was afraid Bauer was throwing the ball at him, and before he ended up launching it out to center.
There were cases. You remember the Rob Dibble thing that happened many years ago. I mean,
tore his jersey right off, I think.
And Albert Bell threw a ball at somebody.
Oh, that happens once every 10 years, like I've been saying, if somebody goes that mental, But that's a symptom. That's not like the be all.
But in those instances, they were throwing actually at people in the stands. Yeah. Bauer threw it in center field where there's nobody out there. So I mean, the other people got suspended. I don't know whether Bauer will be or not.
Everybody thought or knew that Stroman was going to New York, but they guessed the wrong team. The Mets, of all teams. I mean, Stroman must feel like all you have to be is white to make it in this world. I mean, how else could you move from Toronto to New York and be disappointed? Well, if you're playing for the Mets. 50 and 55, and they decide to pay the money for Stroman, and basically everyone thought that Stroman was going to the Astros or to the Yankees. Now the word is the Yankees are pursuing Trevor Bauer.
I think he's a good fit in New York. I actually do. I think that changed the scenery when he went from Arizona to Cleveland. That changed the scenery. Turned him into a big leader because he was a complete asshole in Arizona, and Cleveland calmed him down enough. Now, if he goes from Cleveland to New York, it's a bigger stage. He's got a huge personality. They may have the facilities there to help him. I think it could be a really good move for him.
Well, he can blend in with all the other assholes in New York.
Exactly. But, the thing here is that the Yankees are bringing up Frazier's name, and it's like, no. I mean, the guy can't field. He's become a fan unfavorite, and his attitude in the clubhouse has been largely questioned in New York. They don't question his power, the speed of his bat, but he's a power hitter who can't field and who has kind of a bad attitude.
I think other teams have finally sussed out that the Yankees always try to trade chump prospects instead of their good prospects.
Yeah, that's right.
Fall for it this time because they always unload all of their shit prospects and hype them up to make them think that they're better than they really are.
Davey, D-E-I-V-I, and I don't have his last name. I just remember his first name because the odd spelling is the top prospect in the Yankees minor league system. You might want to look that up and Google it. D-E-I-V-I, New York Yankee minor league player. So Davey Garcia is listed as the top prospect, and that name never comes up in discussion for Trevor Bauer, by the way. They're still talking about, Frazier, like we want him back. That's what we peddled away already once. But that's what I'm hearing is that the Yankees have an interest, and that's because they were butthurt over the Stroman thing. They need a starting pitcher. CC Sabathia just went on the DL with more right knee problems, knee tendonitis pain. So, that isn't long, till extinction. I mean, CC's a woolly mastodon, for God's sakes. He's not going to go on forever. That we know. You asked me a question in chat, Jake.
Before the Moohead radio show was even on.
Yeah. He's been playing a long time. You asked me about Harbaugh saying that he wants to run Lamar Jackson 140 times during the course of the season.
Well, his comments were that Cam Newton had the record. A reporter said that he ran 139. He said, we're going to shatter that. We're going to run him at least 140, 150 minimum. So,
well, misdirection can be misdirection. I don't think that they would ever run him 150 times if he proved he could pass the ball and move the ball through the air. The only way that he runs 150 times is if they have to, and they're going to blow him up because he's going to get hurt. The thing is that that's what everyone expects from the Ravens, and maybe he's kind of setting things up. Maybe he's just trying to set everybody up.
9 plays a game. So 9 plays, you're going to have designated Lamar Jackson run, like 2 plays a quarter. Is that really going to happen? 9 plays a game.
And I would be remiss if I didn't end the show on this note. Festival shooter Santino Ligon legally purchased his rifle in Nevada. This is the 19-year-old who shot up. And I have a very dear friend who lives in Gilroy, California. The Garlic Festival is an annual event in Gilroy. You know, the first thing I did is I wanted to find out who was hurt, because I wanted to make sure, because Gilroy is not the biggest place in the world, although the Garlic Festival draws a lot of people. But, you know, when you have a friend from a place, you want to make sure they're safe. But 3 people dead from this guy. And, you know, and what was it? You know, well, the shooter had an assault style rifle and appeared to shoot at random. The SKS, an AK-47 type rifle, was purchased legally in Nevada on July 9th, he said, 3 weeks before the event, adding that his understandings is that Ligon purchased the weapon himself. You know, we continue on and on and on. You know, it's always assault rifles and kooks and finding crowds in events that draw a lot of people and randomly going off and legally purchasing the weapon. And so it will always be in America, because we are a backward thinking country and we're so afraid of ourselves that we will arm everyone around us so that somehow in our sick fucking minds we feel safer. You can't even go out to the goddamn Garlic Festival in Gilroy, California. You know, at what point are there so many guns in circulation in our society that all of these festivals, I mean, people going to be gunned down in the Ohio State Fair? You know, what's going to, you know, at what point are people just going to stay behind their doors because it's just not fucking safe? And I'm so sick of people saying guns make us feel safer. No, they don't. They make people feel less safe. And the only reason they want one is because they feel less safe, because there's more people, crazy fuckers like this guy, who have them. Goodness gracious. It just makes me wonder. I'm done. I want to thank everybody for joining me on this edition of Moohead Radio. I do want to say this, that on the Moohead Radio page, you know, we have a channel page, you know, on YouTube, and Rox and I were looking at this, and it's crazy. It's showing differently on her version of Google Chrome than it is on mine. And if you are a non-subscriber of the program, go over to the site, and there should be a video that automatically starts playing that explains what we're doing with the Browns halftime and post-game shows. And there should be a link right there that will always take you to that room where the post-game show will be. And it's explained that you have to click on the link and get the Zoom app and all that stuff. So if people on the panel, go to the Moohead Radio homepage on YouTube and see what is showing, because it's supposed to be that.
Well, I already downloaded the link for the halftime and post-game shows, and I bookmarked it.
But I want to make sure, because I worked on this during the course of the day to make sure that my page, my channel page, was being viewed properly.
Well, I'm subscribed, so I you know, I can't tell. You know, it looks fine to me.
Yeah, but you have to go to the home page on YouTube of Moohead Radio. And what you should be seeing, if you're not subscribed to the show, is a video, and it will say the home of the Browns halftime and postgame show. And a video will immediately come up with me telling you about what we're doing with that. If it's not doing that, please send me an email at mooheadradio@yahoo.com and let me know. because it's working on Firefox for Roxanne, but it's not working on build 75 of Google Chrome. We're shut down at 71 and it's working for me. I have to upgrade mine. I don't know what's going on, to tell you the truth.
That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
There could be an issue of whether you're logged into YouTube or not either, depending.
No, she was logged in, logged out, and logged back in, and it just wasn't showing. She sent me screen caps on this, and the capture of the screen, and yeah.
It is the first video on mine. It is the first video on the homepage.
All right, and does it automatically start playing?
I'll check after. When it live streams, since you're live streaming now, it's putting that video up the second I log in.
I gotcha. All right. Yeah. Very good. All right. So let me know, Jake, mooheadradio@yahoo.com. Send me an email. Let me know what it's looking like. Are you on Chrome?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Could you check what version of Chrome you're on?
Yeah, I will.
The little three dots in the upper right corner, you have to click on it, and then yeah. You should find About Chrome.
There'll be a slight lull in our lull.
In settings? Is it in settings?
Roll on, big O.
No, let me check, and I'll tell you exactly. We just went through this earlier. Wow. I think you have to go to. I don't think it's in settings. I think it's in
more tools.
More tools. Yeah,
that's what we have around here. Lots of tools. We don't need any more tools here.
That's right. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Some people are such tools.
In more tools, it says create shortcut, clear browsing data extensions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
I was thinking of something else. It's under help.
Oh, that's right.
About Google Chrome.
Yeah. So go to help.
I got it.
Not Yelp. Help.
775.0.3770.142.
Yeah. I'm not there yet. So I'm gonna have to uninstall my Chrome and put in new Chrome, but I'm gonna have to get all of my bookmarks assigned.
For move.
Yeah, I know. God, I know. So everybody, thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We'll be back again come Friday. This I promise you. Take care and go Browns. And until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.